Yeah.
You know.
How long did you tour with James?
It was about we didn't stay none about a year.
Yeah.
You know.
And was there a falling out, or was it? I don't know how that relationship ended.
It wasn't really well, I guess you can say it was a falling out. The older guys put me in a situation where they knew JB treated me like a kid, like his son. And so I could pretty much get anything from James, you know, like, you know, send Bootsy over there, you know, he could do it. You know, it's like Mikey.
Yeah.
Let Mikey do it.
Yeah, Mikey will eat it. He'll eat anything.
That's exactly who I was.
Gotcha.
You know, so, you know, but James was, you know, he was a slick guy. You know, he knew they were putting me up to doing that stuff, you know, and I was cool. I was like, more money for, I mean, you know, it's like, we good.
Really?
No, we need this. We need rooms by ourselves.
Right.
We need, you know, and so they put me up to do it. I went and did it. And, you know, I knew in my soul that if he turns me down, I'm gone.
You have to leave.
I have to leave. And the other cats was like, you know, they just knew that, you know, I was going to get it. But myself, I felt like, you know, if he turned me down, I'm going to have to go. And he turned me down. I mean, this wasn't just one time. You know, they were sending me in there every couple, 2 or 3 weeks.
Right.
You know, and James was hip to what was happening, you know, and he was like, he's told me, he said, Bootsy, I ain't going for it this time. You know, all of y'all that can't dig it, you're fired. You know, and I said, okay.
So it wasn't an angry, hard feelings thing. It was like, we
that's what happened to his band before.
Yeah.
You know, and so we knew, you know, in our hearts that this was training, you know, this is our, you know, army training, you know, and because bands at that time were always playing behind singers, you know, and the era was changing. The era was changing for the bands to come up front, even if they couldn't sing, singing, getting the girls and this, that. I mean, you know, dressing, you know, the way they wanted to. The era of it's my thing.
Yeah.
You know, he even recorded it.
Yeah.
You know, and so the band started to doing it's our thing. You know, in dressing and playing, you know, backing up from the singers. And it's like, that's what was happening. And James knew it, he felt it. And we felt like at any time that he fires us or gets rid of us, it's time to go.
Yeah.
You know, because we would dress, you know, after the show, we would dress in this crazy, you know, like, we had been all over in Europe, Africa. I mean, we had been everywhere. Yeah. You know, in that short time. Mm-hmm. And we got the chance to see what other people were doing. You know, over in England, you know, they were dressing, you know, they had hot pants. Mm-hmm. You know, they had, actually the disco scene was going on. Mm-hmm. And this is 1970.
Yeah, wow.
You know, and you know, we didn't have no idea how big that was gonna be. Yeah. You know, and until we got over there and started finding out, wow, you know, ain't it any more bands playing around here? Because where we come from, bands were everywhere. Yeah. You know, but in the time period we were there in Europe, they were into disco. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's like, so that was a new introduction to us.
It wasn't so much, well, I mean, I'm sure the music influenced you a little bit, but it was really the fashion and
it was
style.
The fashion.
So that's where I was leading, and I know you've been asked this question a bazillion times, but indulge me. So was it during your tour and working with James Brown that you started to become of the first version of who you became in terms of your style and your...
I wouldn't say that was the first.
So it was even before that?
It was when I was playing with my brother.
Really?
Yeah, it started when I...
What made you go, I'm going to do some different shit?
Well, we was growing up in in that era where, you had Elvis, you had Sly. I mean, these people were like dressing. I mean, they were sharp.
Yeah.
And, we all of us wanted to be sharp. That meant more than making money.
Yeah.
We gotta be sharp. We hit that stage. And see, when we got with James Brown, it just upped everything. Mm-hmm. It's like, now we can be sharp. Mm-hmm. But you can't be sharp on James Brown's stage unless you're wearing his suits.
Right.
So we knew that after the shows, we would put our own crazy stuff
to go out and have fun.
He didn't want us to go out and have fun. The whole thing was, when we got finished with the show, he made sure we had things to do, like rehearse.
Oh, wow.
Go to the studio and record Sex Machine.
After a show?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
He made sure he kept us busy because we were young and foolish, and we knew it, and we were taunting that. It was like, that's just the way we were. And he put up with it as much as he could, without looking like he was wimping out. Right. With all the other people, because the older crowd that was there, they were dependent on making that check. Yeah. And making that money. We didn't care. Wasn't there long enough to even care. We've been broke, the whole time. Yeah. So, to get with James, and then he cut our salary off, or to fine us, that wasn't gonna work. Right. And he started feeling that, and he started finding that out, that no matter how many times you do that, it did.
That we have to explain, which I ended up doing that to my band as a joke. Because once they understood what that meant, I would do it to them on the slightest thing, just to make them laugh. Right. Because really what I would always do is I'd say, hey, to the bass player, hey, I think you're playing that's not an S and F sharp, it's not an natural or whatever. I was, I always want to be surrounded by people I love to hang out with and treat people with respect and everything. Yeah. But every once in a while when somebody would make a mistake, I'd look at them and I'd go like this. So what that means is this was $5 for every time.
That's right.
And this is what the amount that your salary was going to be deducted that night. Right. So if James Brown went like this, you were making no money that night. And if he just did this, you were down $5. Right. And it was for every mistake that he thought somebody made, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is hilarious.
And it's like, hilarious as it was, it worked in another way on me. It was like, when he did that, it was like, okay, so what?
But he didn't think it was hilarious.
Oh, no.
That's what I'm saying. And I think that's what you're saying. Like, we can laugh about it now.
Yeah, but
he took that very seriously.
It was serious. I mean, he knew that he had us by the balls when he did that. Yeah. And then he found out we just didn't care, because then we started doing drugs on his set. Mm-hmm. And he really, he was like, first of all, he started blaming me for getting the other guys to be involved too. And that wasn't true on his stage, on his set. I knew better than to get high on his set, because how you gonna follow all the things, and you toe up? Yeah. I mean, exactly. So, I was, cocky, but I wasn't, crazy.
You were a pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were being a pro.
I mean, I couldn't say I was a pro then, but I grew to be. Yeah. But he was just, doing it anyway. And I was like, if he's gonna do that anyway, then I'm just gonna get toe up. Right. And that's what I did. And for me, it was like one of the best things I could have ever did, because it got him thinking as well, about himself and what he was doing, what he was really doing, because he would never face that.